What's up, everybody? We are
Hola.
Duck Sauce. I'm a-trak. This is
Armand.
I'm in Los Angeles. He is in Miami. How's Miami right now? How's the sky?
It's gorgeous. You want me to turn it? Want me to do the turn?
Let's
do the turn. You seen anything? Yeah.
Oh yeah. We're seeing the ocean.
We're good, right?
Wonderful.
Nice day. Nice.
Beautiful day for a frisbee.
Put the sauce on it.
Let's talk cooking. We're gonna put the sauce on it. We've been talking a little bit about how we survive by ourselves with our cooking. Neither of us is necessarily a high specialty chef. We have a certain appreciation, and we're getting by all right. So we're sharing some pointers. I'm gonna tell you about a recipe. Actually, I'm gonna tell you what I made last night, my good friend. I made one of my a little bit more complex recipes last night. It's a sea bass. It's a pan-fried sea bass with a sort of herb and lemon sauce. Part of the secret is just
little breadcrumbs. No.
So not a breadcrumb, but I dipped the sea bass in a sort of flour mix right before I put it in the pan. So I gotta say, the sea bass that I get at this one shop here close to my house, I can't mess it up. This recipe is very good, but I feel like most of the credit goes to the fish. So shout out to the fish. This is good fish. Yeah, I heat up some olive oil and butter, both of them in a pan. And then I take my sea bass, pat it dry. I use tapioca flour because it's gluten-free. So tapioca flour, salt and pepper. There's a word for this, dredge it? I don't know, some term for dipping your fish in flour. Just a thin little layer so that when you cook it in the oil and butter, it becomes golden. It has this sort of like thin golden crust on the outside. Cook both sides over, until it's golden. And then when it's cooked, you take the fish out, leave it on a plate for a sec, and you keep the oil and butter and all the like fishy stuff that came out while I was cooking. You keep that in the pan, and this is a term I learned in my cooking experience. You deglaze.
Deglaze.
So that's when you pour wine.
I don't know that actually.
You pour white wine into the pan.
Would that be called reduction?
No, that's a little different. What deglazing does is the wine lifts up the little particles of sticky fish or meat, whatever you just cooked. It literally lifts it off the pan, and it grabs the flavor from whatever was just cooking before. So you run a little bit of white wine. It lifts up the oils and like little leftovers of fish, and then the wine actually evaporates. You throw in more butter, chop up a couple of herbs. What I put is garlic, thyme, and parsley. Leave that in the pan for like 30 seconds, just a little bit, like just for the garlic to get golden. And then you throw in some chicken broth. So a little bit of chicken broth, some fresh lemon juice, even a little bit more butter. That's the other reason why this dish is good, is there's a ton of butter. And that's it. Then you have this little herb, chicken broth, buttery, deglazed situation. And you pour that over the fish. And then the last thing I just remembered, capers.
Capers.
Yeah, capers. So it's kind of a Mediterranean sea bass situation.
I don't eat fish anymore, but damn, that sounds good. Sea bass, I think it's an oily fish. It's supposed to be very simple, like simple cooking and simple ingredients.
The fish itself feels buttery and tastes buttery.
It is.
And it has that flavor already. So you're right. You don't even have to do that much to it. It's just some sort of simple preparation, and then you're good. What about you? Tell me about your kitchen.
I don't have such a beautiful dish like yours. Basically, I have avocado toast every morning. Yeah. So it's just my go-to thing.
I've had your avocado.
You've had it? Okay, yeah. But I do it a variety of ways, and sometimes I like to flip up my avocado toast. So,
really?
I mean, there's not much in terms of taste that changes, but it can be texture and stuff. The crazy thing with me is I have a serious avocado ripeness. It's I'm like the kind of guy that when I run the wash and I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna get this wash right, I hate to iron and I don't iron. So I'm like, if I'm gonna get my wash right, there's a time you want to pull the clothes out. Like you can set the dryer, but if you forget, then your clothes come out mad dry and wrinkled, right? Super dry, shrunk, and all wrinkled out. They look like twisted up pieces of cloth, and you're just it's like you can barely even. I'll have to just wash it again in water and try and catch the timing again. I'm the same with avocados. Half the time I'm making avocado toast, it's either they're too young or they're too old. It's very rare I get those perfect avocado days because I buy 6-8 avocados at once because I don't want to be going to the store all the time for this Corona stuff. If you buy 8 avocados at once, they all get ripe at once. You know what I'm saying? They all generally, like I'll do the pick at the store. Everybody always grabs the good avocados. You know that. The ones that are perfect for the day. Those are gone. You never get those. You always get the ones that are like they feel like a piece of marble. One day it's perfect avocado. You know what I mean? You have to have like some kind of an avocado schedule going. No matter what I do, if I buy 8 avocados, 1 or 2, I almost have to end up throwing it.
Yeah.
It's like I missed the timing on it. So
yeah.
But anyway, so my avocados is basic. I don't do any enriched flour. So wonderful whole grain bread, completely natural, organic. That's the key to avocado toast. The bread is everything. Mm. If you can cut your own bread, like get that nice Italian pan or like a nice sourdough, San Francisco sourdough, and you get it not sliced. You kind of want the bread like an inch, you know what I mean? Like an inch thick. Mm. If you get the sliced, it's kind of under an inch. You know what I'm saying? Mm. Nobody does like the 1 inch slice, you know?
Yeah.
Cut your own bread, toaster oven, like I said, I'm a toaster oven fanatic, 2 slices in the toaster oven, cut the avocado. I either do, it depends on my mood, but I'll either do the slices or I'll just do the mash. And I'll do the mash literally with like a fork. I don't even have an avocado masher. Just cut it with the knife for a bit, smash it up in the bowl. Extra virgin olive oil. When the toast comes out, that goes on first. Like hefty amount. Just like nice good amount on the toast. I put let's say I'm doing the smashed avocado. So I put the smashed avocado on, Himalayan pink rock salt, the rock salt. And then I'll either, depending on my zone, red pepper or black pepper. Both work. And then there's a little touch on avocado toast. I don't know why. There's some places that do it, some people that don't. But it's a thing, but I don't want to, you don't want to taste it all the time, which is paprika.
Yes.
So they'll do a little touch of paprika on it at the end. And sometimes it's cool. Sometimes you got to be careful. It can overwhelm it. So, that's it. That's basically my breakfast every morning. The breakfast of champions, man. Yeah,
I've had your avocado toast, and I respect your big slices of bread. I think. Yeah.
Now we move on to the horoscopes, and I'm going to read my one true partner in music and in crime. His weekly horoscope. This week we're doing the Flirt version.
Let's do it.
Unless you hate cooking like you hate dental work, get in the kitchen and make something happen. Your good energy should help you win over your date no matter what.
I like that. So just saying, hey, get up off your ass and, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dating is that in general, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not dating, things don't come on a silver platter, do they?
Someone has to strike the match. Cool. Well, so I will now read Armand's. So I'm an Aries, Armand's an Aquarius. Here is the Aquarius Flirt horoscope. You need to resolve a few dating contradictions before they get totally out of hand. But fortunately, you have the brain power to figure it all out quickly. In fact, you might end up winning. Is your relationship worth fighting for?
Interesting. Wow. Yeah.
You're saying like you got a lot of things going on here. What are you really going for?
Yeah, the dating world is quite a thing, isn't it?
I mean, in 2020, it's never. Yeah.
It's such a weird thing, dude.
I know. All right, let's get into this week's interview. I thought it would be, we both thought it would be cool to talk to David Guetta because we both have known him for a long time, and with our duck intuition, we knew that he would talk about certain things that maybe a lot of people don't know about David Guetta. I mean, Armand, you met him around what year? Like 90 something?
I'm going to say 95 easily. Yeah. Could even be 94, but I think 95. Yeah.
Right. And the interview was, I think, even better than what we hoped for. He talked about funk parties before the birth of hip hop in Paris. How
he's a scratch DJ.
Scratching. Yep. All the way to when the French touch scene was kicking off, when Busy P used to be a young promoter working under him, all kinds of great stories. So without further ado, should we bring him in? Yo, what's up, David? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm very intrigued and excited to be with you guys.
You're with the Ducks.
It's an
Yeah.
honor for sure. It's an honor to have you. Yeah.
I'm happy to have you. And I like these conversations when like I like to witness Armand catching up with our guests sometimes too. You guys know each other longer than I've known you both probably. So I'm excited to learn about some of the older stuff too.
Are you saying that we're older than you?
Yes, we're both old.
Is this the purpose?
Yes. Yeah.
It's okay. You know what? You both look younger than me. You both look great. Cool. So how are you doing? You're in Ibiza right now?
Yeah, I'm in Ibiza. First non-touring summer and
Yeah.
non-working summer of my life. So it was it's actually great. I'm enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Because like I took holidays with my kids. It's the first time they had their dad for holidays during the summer.
That's
Then
cool.
I'm here. I just arrived in Ibiza now, and I'm not stressing. I can enjoy my house. I don't need to take a plane every day. It's nice. I'm making music without the stress of having to deliver anything.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
That's cool.
Well, let's I feel like let's start by going to the old school and talk about like one of the things that I thought would be cool to talk about is like obviously people know you for your enormous dance hits, but I know that you have a background in hip hop back in like the early 90s. Like tell us about
Wait, I can tell you the record before David says it because I somebody hit me to it maybe 15 years ago, and I know it's David Guetta in Sydney, and it's called
Oh my
Nation
God.
Rap. Nation Rap.
There we go.
1990.
Oh my God.
so let's get into it.
It's a straight up like rock bass. It Takes Two, but in French, and it's wonderful. It's a
I
great.
think I've heard it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because you need to know that the guy Sidney, he was the pioneer of hip hop, but I'm not talking in the 90s. I'm talking in Africa Bambata and all of
Early
So-
electro hip hop. Yeah.
yeah. So I discovered scratching and hip hop with him, but I'm talking Africa Bambata. He had a radio show, and I went to see him at this radio show, and it's the first time I saw someone scratching, and
Nice.
then I came back home, and I was never as good as you, but when I was a teenager, I was like completely obsessed with that. So that's why I can really appreciate what you're doing because I know what it takes to get there. I was like I would practice like probably like 2 hours a day every day after school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I come from I started actually even before that. I started with funk, and I mean I'm that old that I've witnessed the beginning of hip hop and the beginning of house.
Yeah.
So so I started by playing funk and disco, and then later.
And I know that funk has always been huge in France. Like all my friends
Oh, yeah.
in France.
Absolutely
Yeah,
huge.
right?
Absolutely huge, and it's
La funk.
no, but really, and also what's very funny because I'm talking to you that your brother, the type of music they make, it almost feels like they were in my neighborhood when I was a teenager.
No, for sure. But by the way, the way that Dave and Pita, Chromeo, the way that they got into a lot of the funk stuff, they discovered it through some of the hip hop records that sampled that stuff in the 90s. And, we grew up in Montreal, and we were getting a lot of French rap also. And we were obsessed with the video for I Am, Je Danse le Mia.
Okay, exactly.
Which is a genius video by Michel Gondry. And you remember in that song, they talk about Delegation, Shalamar, Midnight Star, like Akhenaton is naming all these groups. and we were kind of learning about those funk records, like Shalimar type of stuff, through hip hop.
So like it's actually very specific to France. We call it funk de cité, which means
Like hood funk.
it's funny. I just realized that favela funk is like funk de cité in Brazilian, but this is how we call it because like this music was not like popular because there was like the French variete, that was
Yeah.
big radio. But if you were, let's say, a little bit like cool and underground, but most of all, if you were growing up in a Arab neighborhood, which was my case, and like in a hood kind of, then this was the music that we were listening and I was playing this type of funk. But in America, if you say funk, they think Parliament and something that is a little more P-funk,
Yeah,
But
so
what we were calling funk is that you're talking about. This record is
Cameo,
all
Shalimar.
this Los Angeles solar,
Ohio,
A lot of Ohio.
Dayton,
David,
Cleveland. Yeah, all that.
yeah, a lot of American DJs call that kind of funk boogie.
Exactly, they call it boogie. Exactly.
And it's funny you mentioned growing up in the Arab neighborhoods. I don't think you and I ever had a conversation about this, but my mom is Jewish Moroccan. You're Moroccan too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Same origins.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So in France, funk was huge. So were you like a teenager when you were DJing funk
yeah.
records? Okay.
Yeah, I started to DJ when I was 12, let's say, in my bedroom, and I started to DJ for my school when I was 14, and I had my first job in by accident in a gay club, but I so wanted to be a DJ, and it was kind of interesting because my friends were like, "What? You're playing in a gay club? Are you crazy?" And I didn't care. I just wanted to play music, and I was playing funk and disco because disco was so popular in gay clubs, and also it's interesting because they were like at the time there was also new wave that was so big, Depeche Mode
New Order.
New Order, all those records, and I didn't like this because I like black music, but they were like forcing me to play this because at the time it was 5 days a week playing 8 to 9 hours. It was not a 90-minute set, it was a real
DJ.
yeah, it was DJing, yeah. And so I would have, I would start with funk and get into disco and have this new wave moment. And it's interesting because I was 17, but in a way, this is what kind of shaped me because later I kept this concept of like dark instrumentals and electronic, but also using soulful melodies.
Yeah.
When it comes to vocals, so
Well, probably playing a lot of the B-sides, right? The dubs to all those records.
yes,
right?
at the time, but same, that's why, sometimes my friend, they tell me like, oh, but why don't you, mix the way you used to mix with all the tricks and all of this? And I'm like, well, because like people don't get it, so it's just that. And also because what I was doing at the time, like using, buying records, like this, having 2 records and making the break longer or stuff like this. Now we do it with a Pioneer CDJ. Like it's just pushing one button and it's perfect, So so I'm like, okay, like for me, I love I see with the vinyls and I love this culture. This is where I'm coming from, but now I don't really see to be honest, and people are gonna hate me for saying this, but I don't really get why people are still playing vinyls. Like I don't get it, and because like I did this. My back was almost broken a million times because I was carrying all those.
Hey,
Armand will
I
probably
say,
say
look
the
at this
same
way. I say the same exact thing. So don't feel bad in saying that.
Oh,
But
okay,
I do,
okay.
but I do say this, that playing vinyls is now just it's niche. You know, it's a niche thing. Like some people, it's like the generation before us that kept 8-tracks. Like when we were playing
Yeah, yeah,
vinyls,
yeah.
we were
I
like,
think-
this guy still has an 8-track player.
The real to real.
No, the
Oh, you know the
8-track.
guys. No, no, but
The
also
8-track.
like there was
Yeah,
also
yeah.
I remember some guys playing reel to reel in the club.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw it.
Jelly Bean. So Arthur Baker used to bring in reel to reels. Arthur Baker would bring in, play it at your own risk. Planet Patrol on reel to reel. Jelly Bean would drop it right there, boom, right at the front house. That's how it was back then, though. Larry
Wow.
Levan too.
Yeah, it's
Reel
crazy.
to reels. Yeah,
Well,
but anyway, so it's
In the
it's- yeah, I
same
get what
way,
you're
in
saying.
the same way, like for me, I don't get it. If you can,
Yeah.
if you don't need to carry some heavy records and you just have you just need a SD card in your pocket,
Yeah.
and you can do, except if you A-track, you
No,
can
but
do
you know what? I haven't
three or four
played
things.
real vinyl in years. When I play with Serato, that's one thing, but carrying records from my collection, it's been years. Sometimes people ask me and I say no. I'm like, no. Most of my records are still in Canada. Some of them are in New York. Some of them are here in LA. I don't know where my shit is. But I think there's a time and place. I think for, if someone's playing a party at the local club with friends and they want to play rare shit that's not even
Yeah.
digitized, then cool. But what I really want to know, so now when we get into hip hop, so David, do you know how to break dance? I feel like you probably know how to break dance.
No, I couldn't break dance.
You can pop though.
Yeah, the
Up and on.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, when I started to play, it's funny. So I was playing hip hop parties in some like we call it MGC. So it's like in the neighborhoods that are difficult neighborhoods. You have a place for young people to hang out.
Yeah, like a rec room. Yeah. Like a
and
youth club.
you have sports, or you have basically it's a place to avoid people, kids being bad.
Yes.
So I would DJ there, some hip hop parties. I would DJ, in like some real
Neighborhoods.
yeah, like it was really not like trendy hip hop with models, like
Yeah.
like proper hip hop party. And it's just funny because I was already white at the time, but most of all, I had long hair, and so having long hair when you were playing hip hop was really not possible, and in the hip hop magazines, they would kill me for having long hair, and yeah, it's funny. And there's this guy, because I don't know if you know another band called NTM.
Yeah.
So those guys, we're just from the same generation, so they're like a legend in hip hop in France.
NTM, they're tough guys.
Yeah. And I still see sometimes, we see each other, and he still call me David. Go see your hairstylist Guetta. This is how they were. This is how they were calling me in the hip hop scene, and in the hip hop magazines at the time.
Wait, how did he say it in French?
David va chez le coiffeur Guetta.
Great.
So were you the promoter, David, back then at La Bandouche? Is that right? I have a memory of
that's later. That's later.
Yeah, I know that's later. But
so
is that when I met you? Is that time frame?
I did. Well, I started a club called Queen, and
Queen. So you did Queen first.
Oh yeah, I opened
or
the
your
club.
night. You had a night at Queen.
I started a new concept in France.
At Queen. Okay.
That was to invite DJs which
Oh, so
was
you brought me maybe first time to Queen in
yeah,
my life. In my life.
yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
So I know you from back then,
And
right?
Frankie Knuckles and Danny Tenaglia and David Morales, DJ
Okay.
Pierre, you know, all those guys. And for me, it was a way also like, you know, the club was full anyway. So the owner was like, but why? Why are we paying those guys? Like, I don't get it. We're full anyway. You know, and of course I wanted to bring the culture, you know, to Paris, but I also wanted to learn from you guys. So, you know, I was also using the club to as an excuse to for me to meet my idols and understand, and every time I remember asking, but what sim do you use? How do you make this bass? Like, you know, yeah, yeah.
That's cool. So
Nice.
yeah, so you probably brought me to Queen. How long did you do Queen for?
So Queen, I was there 90s, I think 96, 97.
Oh,
Oh
I was
no,
definitely
92, 92 to 96 or
okay.
7.
Then for sure. Then that's when we met. But then you had something at
Then
the at
then
a
Le Palace, then Le Bandouche.
yeah. Okay. Le
Yeah.
Bandouche, by the way, a lot of memories in there, of course, with Daft Punk and many people, and in Queen with Daft Punk as well.
Yeah,
Where we would
absolutely.
all, I feel like
Look
we
at my
were all
T-shirt.
together, correct? Oh, look at
Amazing.
that. There you go. That's my favorite Daft Punk record, by the way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so is that true? Like, so when do you first remember hanging with me? Like, what's your memory?
I remember you said, like, I don't know, like I think I brought you to Le Palace also, maybe.
Yeah, I did do Palace. I think I only did it
Le
once, but
Palace,
yeah,
Queen.
yeah.
Um, yeah, like I was probably closer to the Frankie and David
Sure,
Morales
sure,
and
sure. Yeah, yeah,
Masters at Work,
yeah.
and
With Gladys Pizarro and stuff like that, Strictly Rhythm, right? Stuff like
yeah,
that. You
yeah,
were bringing in, yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And then it's funny because I was at the time. It's really funny. I was booking them from Maria, that became my agent.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really crazy. She's my agent,
Okay.
and she was doing Def Mix, and
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. I totally.
yeah, and of course, I was like, I was being cheap, and
Yeah.
and so now when I'm telling her like, oh, we need to ask for more money, she's always like telling me like, ah, but you remember when you were a promoter, how hard it was to pay, so you need to understand.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I went like I say, I went from funk and disco to hip hop to house, and then later electro house, and then EDM, and then crossover pop, whatever,
Yeah.
So
So there's something that's interesting for me about that, the sort of EDM explosion in that moment, about 10 years ago when you really broke in America, where I have this perception, tell me if I'm wrong, but to me, part of what helped EDM become a thing, or we can even just call it dance music, when it reached the charts in America, when you had the idea to put artists like Akon, Black Eyed Peas, you connected sort of, commercial hip hop with dance music. I think
yeah,
that
exactly.
that's the match that lit the explosion
Yeah,
that made it
to-
possible in America.
totally,
But that
because
was kind of your idea, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Let
absolutely.
me say this before you answer though. Like, I tried my whole life to do what David Guetta did. I told you this before, that at your record, you had a record release party at Electric Lady in New York, and I told you, I was like, when I get my chance, I'm going to tell David Guetta that your success with what you did in combining R&B and rap into house music was something I was trying to do all along. And you told me simply this: you go, man, it's just timing. That's all you said.
Hey,
And I
this
was like,
timing is true.
that's what you said. You were like, hey, man, because you've been doing it as well, but you were just like, I just hit it right at the time when it's the timing. And I was like, I was so angry. But go ahead, answer.
No,
I just want
but
to say that.
if you remember, I was telling you, but come on, what are you doing? Look at what's happening.
I had given
You've been
up.
doing this for so many years. Like,
I
come
had given
on.
up. I tried so hard in the 90s to bring what I loved with hip hop and house, to have that element still be in music. I didn't know even pop. I didn't care. It was just more like I loved both elements always in the music. You did it, man. I mean, you were the first to make it really happen on a mass level. And honestly,
Yeah,
everybody owes you for that. Believe me. So,
oh, wow.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And, it's like, it was kind of a magic moment because, it was really genuine. I was not trying to get on the radio. I was just, you know, bringing together. I was heavily also in the bleepy scene in Holland, and I was like, okay, I love those drums. I said this to Sidney Sampson many times. Like when I met Sexy Bitch, I was just he did this record Riverside Motherfucker, if you remember.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to copy his drums, and because I'm not such a great producer, I'm trying to copy people, but it's never the same. But then this is how you make something new.
We all do that, yeah.
And and I ended up. It's funny because I made this beat, and I made the first beat on the plane, and I was listening to Riverside, and I don't know, it's just that clap that was coming a little earlier, and I was like, this is so cool. So I did this, and then using toms, and when I played the beat to Akon, it was just hearing the part that with the toms, and it was like boom, ka, boom, ka, boom, ka, boom, ka, boom. And for him, it felt like hip hop because but divided by two. And like, sure, I write it right now, and that's how. And then later, I added the bass with that Tainted Love kind of bass, and right. It became a dance record. But yeah. So I think it's cool to have so many and we the three of us, I think we have a big musical history and culture, and that we bring this to our music, but what's funny is that I don't think people see me like this at all. You might feel it, but I think most people don't,
a lot of people just know you as superstar DJ.
Yeah, and also pop, kind of pop dance music, but they don't necessarily hear the references or,
Well, respect where respect is due. And everybody, I don't care. I mean, obviously young people, they don't know, but when you make music for a living, one of the hardest things to make is a happy pop song. You can make emo, dark, underground records. You can make 1,000 in a day. But making a great pop song is the most difficult thing in the world. People need to understand that.
It's the hardest thing to do.
Very difficult. It's the most challenging. So if you're a producer that has success with your story growing up, through your streets and all that stuff, paying dues, and then you're able to be given pop success at some point, yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yes, and thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
No, for sure. I think even just I say this all the time, and sometimes it frustrates some of my other producer friends. I always say making simple tracks is tougher than making complicated tracks, or making a simple track that's catchy. And actually, well, even between us, Armand taught me a lot about taking out a lot of things and only keeping the essentials. Like when we were starting Duck Sauce, I would always want to add these changes and complicate. And Armand would just say, no, leave it. It's done. It's good.
Yeah, he's the king at that. I have to.
No, wrong,
No,
wrong.
but
No,
no, but it's true. I mean,
no.
sampling. No, but it's true. Like you like amazing with samples. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm not that good with. It's crazy because it's the same. You can say, oh yeah, sampling is easy, but no, it's not easy
No,
because
I know. Yeah, I agree.
like
Yeah.
like it's the same. Like I'm more like I do more, like musical stuff, but it's not necessarily that I don't. I would love to be able to do this like 8 bars or 4 bars loop that is so
Yeah.
crazy that you can listen to it for 8 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't know how to do it. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Different
everybody
kind of
has
ear.
their
It's a
way.
different ear. It's like finding. It's it's funny because there's songs that are incredible songs that are not going to be good as samples. Like finding a loop is a different thing. It's like finding a little moment that, like you said, you can listen to for a very long time just as a loop, and you don't get tired of it. Some of the best songs in the world don't make good samples. It's a different thing.
No, of course, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, Armand has an incredible ear for that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not
No,
about me, you
So,
guys.
what was the French perception? I want to know what did people in France think of Armand when he was first coming out there?
Well, it was basically, I think it was, like how big we talked about how big the funky vibe was,
Yeah.
in France. So obviously everybody loved him from the beginning, and like I was a big fan. I was like too impressed. It was like a little bit too cool for me, I was like,
Right.
and like then Daft Punk.
Yeah,
It was a moment that all that funky culture crossed over to a more general public,
yeah,
and I think also because Daft Punk became so huge at that time, it was really
Yeah.
it was insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
it
was
was.
like a
It was.
religion, in our country.
That's
I mean,
a
in the
great.
world, but,
That's a great way to explain it. The Daft Punk
Religion.
religion. That's a
Yeah.
great way.
Yeah,
to explain it.
yeah.
It's exactly what happened.
It's crazy,
I became a follower.
yeah,
No, but
I
also
became converted.
it also helped you, I think, because your sound it was easy to mix your records with what they were doing.
Yeah.
So, at the time, anything that was related to that vibe was killing it, in our country. So, but also in the UK, I remember feeling so proud because, since the beginning, we were like the British people were looking down on us, and
That is a great thing to say because that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I was there. I
when
remember.
Daft
Yeah.
Punk came, and Cassius, and then in all a second you had some English people that were making records that was pretending to be French.
Yeah.
There was some fake French
Just fake French.
and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. I would never imagine that one day this could happen,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was a great moment. And also it's crazy because they were coming to, I was telling you, I did the first party that was inviting DJs in Paris, American DJs, like big house DJs, and so Daft Punk were always coming before they even made records, and then I was booking them. Well, I'm sure you guys know Pedro.
of course.
So Pedro was working for me as a promoter.
Yeah,
We should say you're talking about Busy P, just so
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
know.
BCP. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was running a club called the Palace. This is really crazy shit. So I was running a club called the Palace, and I was the main DJ, and I was booking all the DJs. And I was like, okay, you know, something is happening, and I can't have those people like Daft Punk. They're not big enough to play in the main room, but I mean, I can't deny how talented they are. So I took BZP as a promoter, and he started in this small part of the club that was only for 100 people. He started a night called it was hype, but we would say hippie, you know. And the night, and you would have like Dimitri from Paris and Daft Punk and Cassius and you know Gregory and you know, but just sometimes everyone on the same night, you know.
Yeah.
And then and we would play in the main room, and all I wanted was to finish my set so I could be in the small room. and you know, but imagine how crazy it is that you would have enough, like a few years later you could fill a stadium with that, but they wouldn't play in the main room. I would give them the small room, you know. And I mean, of course the crowd was insanely cool. And then this is how BZP started to work with Daft Punk. And later he told me like, look, they're asking me to be their manager. Like, I'm sorry, but you know, I can't be a promoter for you anymore. And I was like, no, I get it. But then he was like, actually, and then he was like, okay, but I'm gonna hook you up with someone that could replace me. And it was DJ Falcon.
Oh wow!
What? Oh,
no, I'm serious.
God.
And
That's
then
amazing.
so DJ Falcon was then replacing Pedro. Like no one knows those stories, you know, because also it sounds a bit like bragging. So I don't say this to
No,
me
we
because
we like the bragging.
You know?
Yeah. So then Falcon replaced Pedro, a BZP, and became a promoter. And he was telling me like, I really want to make music, all of this. I was like, okay, look, let me hook you up. You know, you should buy this sampler, you should buy this, you should buy that. It was like, okay, look, don't pay me. Just put all the money on the side, and then at the end of the year, we buy it, you know? And I was like, okay, cool, you know? So, but really, I swear this is a true story. And then, because of course of that night, you know, Thomas was there, and then they started the project, and I was like, what the fuck? You know, those records are so amazing.
Yeah.
And I was shocked, you know. I was like, but are you kidding me? Like you just had a sampler like 3 months ago. Like, how is that even possible? And you know, and he was just making loops all day long. That's everything that he was making. It was not like, you know.
You're talking about Falcon right now, right?
Yeah, Falcon.
Okay.
He was like, and he was coming with those. At the time, it was a mini disc. I don't know if you remember the mini disc.
Yeah, of course.
And he was coming with the mini disc, and he was just playing me loops, like hundreds. And I think you know, Thomas just like picked the best ones, and they made Roulette, like those incredible records on Roulette, you know. Yeah, together and then because check this out. And then they playing Call on Me. And
shit. I remember this story. I know this. Yeah, but go ahead. I know this
and at
story,
the time
Stevie Winwood.
They did so they did together. They did So Much Love to Give.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, we did something new. And at the time, he was only playing with Ableton Live. I have to say, Falcon was probably the first person using Ableton, and he did live. He did Call on Me, and I'm like, but do you know how big this record is? He's like, I don't know. You know, we're talking with Thomas, but I don't think we want to release it. We just want to keep it as a tool to play. So I'm calling Thomas. I'm like, you guys are insane. This is your biggest record ever. This is a monster. Like, you are crazy. And I kept insisting. Like every time I would see one or the other, I was like, you have to release this record.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it at home because I recorded it.
Yeah.
But just like when it was performing live, and he was like, please don't play it. I was like, I wanted to play it so badly. And then Eric Prydz did it.
Yeah.
And I remember one day I'm on my scooter and I'm in Paris, and I see on a different scooter, I see Falcon and Thomas from Daft Punk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey guys, like by accident at the red light, I'm like, are you aware that your record is #1 in the UK right now? And Thomas like, what? Yeah, you remember I told you it was a hit.
So is it a coincidence that Prydz took the same sample?
I don't
No,
think.
no,
Or did they give it to him?
Well,
No.
The story goes he probably, what it is they were playing that in their sets.
Yeah, exactly.
They were playing it, like he said, they made it as a DJ tool. They were playing, Eric Prydz, I heard it too. I heard it back then before Eric Prydz made the song. When I first heard Eric Prydz version, I kind of had a cloudy memory. I'm just like, I've heard this before.
Right.
Like I didn't know where, and then somebody told me kind of what Guetta gave me the better version.
Yeah.
They said something to that effect, and I was like, "That's what it was." Because that's like I had heard this because I love Stevie Winwood, and I knew the loop. And so when Eric Prydz came out, I'm like, somebody already did this right.
But this is really not to diss Eric Prydz because he's really a
No,
genius.
it's no diss. But
I mean, he's one of my favorite producers.
Hey, but you know what? It could be. We can't say that he didn't know either. So I mean, that he knew. We can't say that because we don't know. So
we don't know.
I think
it could be coincidence. So.
It could be, but I think the Falcon and Tama version eventually, I don't know if it was officially released, but I remember like later on blogs, I remember getting it. Okay, well, people were sharing it on blogs years later. It was called like Daft Life version or something, or Nightclub version, or one of those. Not Nightclub, maybe Daft Life version. I have like a really bad Daft Club version. I have a really bad MP3, like low quality MP3 of it.
Yeah, exactly. So but this is a story, and it's funny actually because Eric Prydz, I think the record is amazing that he did, and he's like such a genius producer.
Yeah.
But then he got kind of, I don't know, he didn't like the record anymore, and it was really funny, like, because he's such an underground head.
Yeah.
And he was like almost ashamed of the success of the record.
That happens to people. We all know people who.
Man, I don't understand this. I'm like, what are you talking about? Embrace it. This is such a blessing, So
that definitely happens. That's a thing.
So and because I was always looking up to Eric Prydz, and he was like, sometimes he would come to the studio. It's really crazy. I remember one day he came and I was like blocked on a record, and he's just like, oh, what about this? And he played like, bass pad, and that was it. The record was like perfect. I was like,
incredible. Yeah.
Some people like this, they just make you feel like shit. And so then he went, and I honestly, he did good because what he's doing now is so incredible. But it was a fun time in Paris at that time, where everyone was so creative, and I'm sure you probably played that night where, you know, there was like this combination of b-boys dancing and DJs playing house, and at Queen it was really crazy.
Yeah, Queen. Well, the
Yeah.
interesting thing about France in general, like the whole country, it seemed like even just the size. So Paris is, you know, back then was the size of New York City. We had 15,000 nightclubs. I felt like in Paris there was just the Queen,
Yeah.
like to go to
Yeah,
Paris
experience
is
this type
small.
of music.
there
It
was
just
Queen and there was the Rex.
yeah. But what I'm saying is this: in Paris, for the population, the populace of the
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
for some reason, you know, 0.00000 go actually like to go to a nightclub. Like in New York, it's like 20%
No,
go
well,
to the nightclub.
the thing is,
Just-
French people at that time, things are
Yeah.
different now, but at that time, it's like there was not many people that were cool, but the people that were cool were super, super mega cool. So, so you know, no, but it's true. So when I would go to the UK, you'd go to clubs that were huge and really talking to the masses, and DJ would actually play some really cool music. And this was completely impossible in my country. But then you would have those little spots where you would hear the most insane experimental music.
Right.
So that's what it is about France, is that the scene was actually really, really small, but it was very strong.
yeah.
And then
Quality.
later with Daft Punk, with me,
Yeah.
it crossed over, and then, you know, everyone started to be into that. Yeah.
Yeah. I have one story. I remember the first time that I spoke to you, and it's a funny story. Busy P connected us on email, and
Okay.
you were working on I Got a Feeling.
Okay.
By the way, I still have this email. I have an email from you, and you're like introducing yourself. You're like, "Hi, my name is David Guetta. I'm a DJ from France." Because I remember reading this and being like, "I know who David Guetta is." It's like, "Thanks, Pedro, for connecting us." And you're like, "I'm something like, hey, you know, keep this on the low, but I'm working with the Black Eyed Peas for their new album." And at the time, the Black Eyed Peas, they used to be more underground. They used to sound like the Roots before this,
Yeah.
right? They were like,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? And so
Rough
you're
house
telling
rate.
me, yeah. So you're telling me I'm working with Black Eyed Peas on the new album. We have a big single that we're preparing, but you were saying something like, I want to get sort of cool underground remixes to make sure that this song blows up the right way, because it's a pretty big departure for them. Here's a little snippet of the hook. Would you be down to remix this? And you attached a thing that was like literally like maybe 8 bars or something. It's just and the vocal. And that guitar was you had a record.
Yeah, it was the same guitar from Love Is Gone.
Love Is Gone, exactly. So I remember hearing it and being like, wait, isn't this a song already? But then the singing comes in and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a different one. And I didn't do the remix, but that was the first time that we spoke. And I think in those years, I was still kind of like teaching myself how to produce, and I would be like really late with all my remixes, and I was kind of overwhelmed. And this thing felt like it was coming from another world. And I remember thinking about it and being like, I'm already late for 2 other things. Like, I can't do it. And just saying like, hey, thank you, but I can't do your song. And then it became the biggest song in the world. And I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, that's crazy. I have a funny one too. Guetta. One time I was in Ibiza, and you were walking by me. I was with one of my friends, and we walked by each other outside of Ibiza Grand Hotel. And you had it was like I want to say Hummers, or it was like 2 Hummers, and you came out or something. And I was like waiting for like a taxi to go to the beach or something. And then you know, in Ibiza, like before Uber, okay. And you come out and you're like, yo, we're going. Or you were leaving too. No, you were leaving too. And you go, hey, we talked for a second. And you go, we're going to shoot this video right now in Ibiza. why don't you come? Like, I was like, well, I was going to go to the beach. You're like, we're shooting. I have Akon in the car, and Akon was
I was
in the
sexy
car.
bitch.
I didn't know. So I to this day, because you go like, oh, we're going to shoot this video. And I was with my friend, and I was kind of showing him around because he had never been in Ibiza. So I was like going to show him a Satrincha and all the stuff. And then you were like, come to the video set, the sexy bitch. And I was like, that sounds like, because, you know, I was thinking like David Guetta, if I go, it's going to be a lot of girls, probably like a pool party. Dude, the video came out. I was like, dude, this is, oh my God. My friend remembers. He's like, why did you take me to Satrincha, man? We should have went to
You see, you guys keep rejecting me. What can I say?
Do you remember this? You probably don't.
Yeah, well, I didn't remember, but I know we shot the video.
It was in Ibiza. It was that you were leaving to go to the shoot.
Yeah, it's funny because the way at that time, I mean, my career was so on fire. It was absolutely insane. I was really literally like, you know, walking on water. It was insane, and I didn't have 1 minute. So I told my ex-wife, I told her like, I'm sorry, I have absolutely zero time. I need to shoot a video. You need to organize it, and you know, please speak to the director. You just organize a house party, and you know, that's it. You know,
yeah.
and I came, and it was a complete surprise. I didn't know what to expect, you know. And then I came in, and all my friends. You're right. It was a lot of hot girls, and all my friends were there, all the dancers from Pacha, and all of this was completely genuine. You know, Akon grabbed me, threw me in the pool, and just filmed the entire thing, and that became the video. Yeah,
That's cool.
And I almost had Armin van Helden in my video.
Almost, man. By the way, I regret it to this day. I'll never forget it. Believe me, I regret it to this day. Cool. Another thing you should know too is "Love Is Gone." Len, something that just popped in my head. Do you remember how much we listened to "Love Is Gone" for about 3 years? And
oh, really?
For 3 years.
We would listen to it as like a mastering reference.
Yeah.
Like a what?
Like a mastering reference.
Really?
Like when we were making.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
I'm very honored that you would take it.
Yeah.
So
when we were making
Streisand,
that first run of Duck Sauce Records, the first couple of years, Barbara Streisand, Big Bad Wolf, all those songs. When we were finished with a song at Armand's old apartment in New York, we would go to his CDJs, play "Love Is Gone" on one CDJ, put our track on the other side, and just go back and forth and then we'd go, okay, we don't have enough low end. Go back, fuck with the mix.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
The reason for that, Armand always had a really cool idea for that, because obviously, like, sample-based tracks sound different.
It's harder, of course.
Yes. So our challenge when we were making all these Duck Sauce records, and still now, is it's too easy to make something sound retro. Like, it's easy to take a sample and make it sound the way it did in 1998 or something. We wanted our records to sound in a way that
we wanted it to sound like "Love Is Gone."
Yeah, we wanted it to sound as big and good as "Love Is Gone." We wanted the DJ to be able to play our tracks in the biggest stages while still sounding cool. So it was trying to find that balance of, like, you know, the warmth of the sample, but also it had to knock. It had to have the same frequencies.
Wow,
So
I cannot believe what I'm hearing. I'm really tripping.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because I was also listening to your record and saying like, oh my God, how can they make it sound like this? I
Well,
think
it comes from you. We should mention Joaquin Giroux, of course. Joaquin.
We were working together at the time, and Fred Rister that unfortunately passed away, but it was actually that record was the first time I worked with Fred, and he was actually when I was shopping it for remixes, you know, he made a remix version, and I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And it's just the intro with the pads, and then it was dropping in a completely different way, and I was like, okay, this pad moment is so good that I want to make it the main version, but I want to make a different drop, and it's funny, you see, like I think like I love that we are all producers here, and we can say what we never say, because Fred was copying Eric Pridge's pad.
Call on me, right? Yeah.
But I think people should know that's what music is about.
Yes.
It's
And
about,
even the bands that we
of
idolize.
course, you listen to funk and you're like, okay, this guy was listening to this record. You can hear it. And we all do this. You listen to a record, and you're inspired by it. And then you're like, okay, I kind of understand the recipe, and then you make it yours because it's you and it's not him, and then it becomes something else, and then somebody else is listening to what you're making, and then it becomes something else. And I think this is the constant evolution of music, because when it comes to chord progressions, I mean, everything has been done. So it's just like, like the way you're gonna arrange it, the way you're gonna make it sound, the type of combination between different cultures that you're gonna make that creates a new style. I think every time, I don't believe in being the absolute creator that, well, at least for myself, that you go from a blank, from nothing, and you just create a new musical movement from nothing. It usually takes roots in a culture of the music you were listening when you were a teenager or something like this. Usually.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is a
Cool.
great way to wrap up the interview. I think you gave us way more time than we thought we were going to get with you. Anyways, this is awesome.
Well, it was very cool to hang out with you guys, and much
likewise.
respect to both of you.
Yeah.
Like I was always very inspired, and when it comes to production or when it comes to DJing, like I was giving some comments. I discovered for the first time a-trak's routine from 2002, and I was like, fuck, because I stopped by the time I already stopped, but in '89 I was redoing the DJ Cash Money routine, and
Cash Money, yeah.
Yeah, you remember, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That I still love this set, by the way, and
the first time you won in the DMC, right?
Sorry?
You're talking about in the DMC championship, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I was practicing every day to redo all his scratches and all the tricks, and then I saw that routine from 2002 the other day, and I was like, but it's crazy because I kind of then I moved to house, so I kind of stopped following all of this.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, it's really crazy already. If you look only from '89 to 2002, the difference is insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what's happening right now in that scene, but it must
There's
be.
still really cool. There's really cool innovation going on now. Now, the last couple of years, there's people that are using some of the new technology in mixing that with the scratching trick. So it's still evolving. It's still growing.
Exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Much love, of course.
It was really nice, and I hope you're filming this, and I want it also for souvenir, because that was a nice hangout.
Yes, it was. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Cool, man. All right, take care.